Bye! My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Welcome back once again to another episode of Duck Dogs, everybody. I'm your host, Josh Miller. Before we get going here, let's make sure we thank our wonderful sponsors. Thank you to Eukanuba. Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020 is what I feed my dogs at the kennel. That's also what I feed my personal dogs, especially as we're in the thick of training season. It keeps them fueled properly so they can go perform at a high level. www.eukanuba.com, Premium Performance Sport 3020. Also, thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is your 5-star crash test rated kennel, both in the intermediate and in the large size. But if you follow Lucky Duck at all on social media, you know that they just came out with a whole new number of new products that a lot of great ones. Two that I personally tested last year. The Feather Down, which is if any of us have ever duck and goose hunted at the same time and killed the spinners and the white stays up and you're trying to get the white to stay down, that Feather Down will keep the white down when you stop those spinners. That's a huge one. We loved that product last year. And then also the Ice Eater is fantastic. You got to use that a little bit late season in Arkansas and loved it. So if you're in the market for those products, go check out www.luckyduck.com. Also, thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka Gear is your premium option for outdoor clothing, not only during the hunting season, but also during training season, as they have a lot of everyday wear that will keep you in the field more comfortable for longer. www.sitkagear.com. Thank you to Kent Cartridge. We've talked about the Kent Cartridge blanks, but also we're coming up on season faster than you think. And so stocking up on as much Kent that you can find would be highly advisable if you have been around scrambling for shells during season, like the night before a hunt. Don't do that this year. Go stock up early, www.kentcartridge.com. Thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs for your four-legged hunting partner. They're great people, great customer service. They are one of the few places that cater to what you and I love to do, www.gundogsupply.com. And last but not least, thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is your premium option for online training. It is a great, guys, I'm just going to be honest with you, just bluntly, I have just loved this community. If you are training your dog at home on your own, you owe it to yourself to get into this community. Also, the Duck Dogs code does still work, so DD100, DD for Duck Dogs, DD100 will get you $100 off your membership to Retriever Roadmap, www.retrieverroadmap.com. Well, I'm glad to be back here with everybody. I'm just going to be upfront with you. My allergies are just killing me. If you have followed this show for any amount of time, you know that I have this roller coaster that I seem to be on as it pertains to my allergies. It's either I'm on a high and feeling great or a low and feeling like I do today. So it's just, it just kills me. My sinuses, my throat. My throat's better today. Yesterday I would have, if you had told me there was a way to rip my throat out of my neck, I probably would have done it. It was so bad. But today's a little better, and we're progressively getting there. For anyone that is going to the Delta Waterfowl Expo in Little Rock, Arkansas, I will be there. I'll be in the Eukanuba booth that's here this weekend and giving seminars throughout the show. So if anyone's interested, come on down. And I would love to see you. Love to be able to get to meet you face-to-face, shake your hand. And I don't know where exactly, but if you go on the Delta Waterfowl Expo online, you'll be able to find all the details to it. So Hope to see as many of you there as possible. You know, as we go into next month, August is a crazy, crazy month for us because not only do we come off this Delta Expo here last weekend in July, we have 2 weekends in August that are back-to-back with Game Fair. Game Fair, the show itself is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, both weekends. But then you have the Thursday before and the Monday after as setup and teardown. So it's 8 days out of the month gone. And then we also have the Wisconsin Waterfowl Expo, which is down in Oshkosh, I believe. That's the next weekend. So it's a big show month. And we have some pretty cool stuff from Retriever Roadmap that we're going to be doing along with those shows. So if you're going to those shows, make sure you wanna come stop by and kind of see what's going on. I'll give you a hint. If you have gone on YouTube and seen my trailer build, so how I built my trailer, there'll be something around that at these shows. So stay tuned. But what I want to talk about today is I would like to fill you guys kind of in on something that I have been doing. Some of you know about it, some of you don't. But then how it has related so much to a lot of the questions and a lot of the maybe concerns or frustrations or insecurities that I hear so often on a regular basis when people send in messages or phone calls or whatnot. And I think this is really neat because it makes those situations extremely relatable, to me. And so I have, again, some of you probably know this, but last year I have taken up tie-down roping. So calf roping, for those of you that are rodeo fans, you know what I'm talking about. If not, go check it out. It's a really intense event, a very fast event, a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. But what is so neat to me about it is the difficulty level and what it takes for you and your horse to become a team to achieve this goal. Sound familiar? This is something that is although it's similar to training dogs, training horses is also different in a lot of ways. But then striving for that goal. Okay, so whether you're hunt testing, which we talked about last episode, whether you're hunting, you want to get your dog to a certain level in the field, that there's a lot that goes into it. And what I can tell you from the dog standpoint and now being on the other side of the fence, trying to learn this stuff as I go, there's 2 very different approaches. So what I want to talk about today is I'll give you kind of a little bit of background on what I've been doing, but approach and then situational awareness as you go through, let's call it the final month to 2 months of your training before season starts. And then once season starts, how that can change. Okay. So a little bit about my ride, because again, this is the relatable side. If you have your first dog, or maybe you've had a dog in the past, but now you're trying to get a dog to an actual level, right? Like I want them running blinds, I want them steady, I want them whatever it is, right? There's a difference between your first dog, maybe that you didn't do that with, and now a dog you're trying to achieve something with. Those are 2 very different things. So for me, I had always, the horses that I had always had were field trial horses. So I ran pointing dogs off horseback in field trials, did that for a number of years. That is very different than going to compete in the manner that I am with the horse I have now. And so I'm asking 2 very different things. So that's my analogy back and forth, there. But what really got me into this topic today was a phone call that I had on Monday. Today is Wednesday, but I had a phone call Monday from somebody over the weekend, and you could tell the guy was just a little stressed out, and it was like, every time I try to fix a problem, I create another one, and all the things that you and we know, right? But this gentleman that is new to this is trying to get his dog to a certain level, and the problem that he's struggling with, I think, is he's trying to get as much information as he can, which is great from a research standpoint. But when you try to apply everybody's methodologies and everybody's approaches and everybody's like, it's just a cluster, right? There's no consistency. There's no clear message that you're delivering to the dog. And so you could tell this guy was just worked up about it. And he's like, I don't understand. I just don't understand why this is so difficult. And I was like, I can't remember the guy's name, but I probably shouldn't use it anyway. I was like, sir, I do think that it's worth stepping back and appreciating, because he was trying to get his dog to run blind retrieves, that this is a difficult thing. This is not an easy thing to do. This is difficult. You throwing a bumper for your dog and telling them to go get it, that's natural. As a retriever, they should, with every ounce of them, want to go do that, because that's what their mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and great-grandpa, great-grandma, their bloodline says to go do that. You don't have to teach that. They don't even know why they do it initially, right? Just, I love to do this. But what you're doing now is you're pointing him in the middle of an open field and saying, run that way blindly until I tell you to stop. And then when I tell you to stop, follow the direction of my hand and go that way as hard as you can. Like, this is not a natural thing. It's very difficult. And that changed his point of view. He was like, oh my gosh, like maybe I didn't understand how difficult this was. Now, here's what I didn't like about the conversation. We had a very deep conversation about this afterwards. At that point, he was throwing in the towel. Like, the conversation went from, oh, I didn't understand this was difficult. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I really don't need that. No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying embrace it. I'm saying step up and take the challenge. If you believe your dog is capable of this and you believe that you are capable of doing this, step up and take it. And I don't understand where it seems like there's more and more of this complacency in our society, in certainly the workplace. Like, we see that. Go to any retail store, maybe not any, most retail stores, and you will see this. Coworkers, think of the coworker. You all know who I'm talking about. There's so much complacency out there. It's like, how do I do the bare minimum? I don't want to step up and do anything difficult. I don't want to step up and do anything hard. Well, that's kind of where I'm going to segue into my difficult thing. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you about the challenge that I gave upon myself and kind of where I'm at right now with it. And hopefully this is relatable to you with your dog, because there's so many similarities here. But so I talked about the tie-down roping. So as a kid, I loved rodeos. Loved them. Like, we didn't go to many of them, but I was obsessed with it when I was very early on as a young kid. And as I got older, especially into when I could drive, like, if there was a rodeo, I was going to it. I just loved watching it. And initially as a kid, I think like all kids, like, I wanted to be a bull rider. Well, as I grew up, I realized how unintelligent that kind of a dream was. And I really got into, I loved watching roping, because there's so much going on. There's so much talent that I feel like goes into it. And so I loved watching him. And this was, so it would have been not this last winter, but the winter before, so a year and a half ago. My daughter, who at the time was 2, we used to, like I talked about, we used to have horses, and our horse vet at the time only lived about probably 1.5 miles, 2 miles away. And I knew he had horses, so with Ava getting into that, I called him up and I said, hey, would we just be able to come by so she can see some horses and pet some horses? Oh, yeah. So we went over there and did that 2 or 3 times. And the last time I went over there, and he was roping on a dummy. So I went over, I watched him for a little bit, and he's like, you know what this is? I'm like, yeah, I actually really enjoy watching it. I can't. And he's like, you think you could do this? And I was like, well, I don't know, and he's like, all right, here you go. I have never in my life felt like a more the term that a lot of the kids that work for me doing chores, they would use is NAF. And if you don't know what NAF is, it's non-athletic F. Right. That's what I felt like, though. I felt like a NAF, like, for sure. And I was like, how is it this difficult? And John, who's, I don't know, probably mid 50s, somewhere in there. He's literally laughing at me. And he's like, oh, yeah. So he gave me the junkiest rope that he had. He goes, oh, go have fun and go swing this at home, whatever. I am a personality that I embrace that. Like, that pissed me off to the point that I'm like, look, I'm going to get good at this. So I'm swinging. I literally would swing that rope every single day. I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm trying to get as much as I can off people on social media. Again, sound familiar to a lot of you guys out there, right? Like trying to gather as much information as I can. But then, just like I just talked about, you watch 4 different people tell you how to swing a rope. There's 4 different ways that those people will say to do it, with where your arm has to be, how much spoke, how big of a loop, how big, so I kind of had to get with one person and be like, all right, I'm going to follow this way, right? And then once I had a good foundation, then I started kind of branching a little bit, going, okay, maybe I can take a nugget from here or there. They'll make this better, right? That was my progression that I used with that. But the thing, though, for me was I've always been what I feel like is gifted when it comes to athletics. In sports, I was football, basketball, and baseball all through high school. And I remember at the end of one season, so at the end of football season, we'd go into basketball season. And the first time that I would ever touch a basketball was the first day of tryouts from the last year. So I had to touch a basketball. Meanwhile, I had very, very dear friends of mine that have been practicing for months for that tryout, and I would make it and they wouldn't. So I just had a natural ability. This, to me, again, with my obsessive personality, I pinned my ears back and said, I'm going to get good at this. Okay. Now, there was a ton of time. To give you guys an idea, I spend about 10 to 15 minutes a day, every single day, practicing this. Again, sound familiar? 10, 15 minutes a day. It's something that I need the muscle memory. It's something that I need the confidence. I need to practice and right, all the stuff. So anyway, I fast forward to this year. I'm doing a lot of work with my horse, and so my horse had developed this bad habit. So a kid that ropes with us needed a heading horse, which is for team roping, right? So heading would be catch the head, dally around your horn, and then turn that steer to your left, so the horse is going left, and so then the heeler can get a shot at the heels. The problem was, after he was using my horse for this a few times, now all of a sudden my horse wants to go left really hard, okay? And when he goes left, I can't get off quickly. I can't get a good direction. I fall. It's just we're not on the same page. And so there's a lot of work that I had to do to get out of that bad habit with that horse. So anyway, we fast forward into my first ever rodeos, and I was extremely excited to do. So my first rodeo, I went out, I successfully caught, but I didn't get him. I had a calf that would just kick. And as you can imagine, you're trying to tie 3 of those legs. So what we do is it's called 2 wraps and a hui. So wrap and a hui is kind of like a half wrap, if you will, that kind of ties everything together. And when you have a 250-pound calf that is kick 200 to 250, is just kicking all over the place, it is very difficult to get all that wrapped together. And so there's just a lot that goes into this. So I caught, but did not get him tied in the 25 or in that rodeo 25-second timeline. Didn't get him wrapped, okay? But I caught, so I felt there was a success. But what I did is I went back and I rewatched the film, and was like, okay, this is what I need to do better. This part right here is where I felt like I screwed up, and I really worked on that a lot. Okay, so now we fast forward a couple more weeks, and I'm going into my first ever back-to-back rodeo. So I'm in southern Minnesota one day on Friday night, and then in northern Iowa on Saturday night. Had the kids, had the family. Whitney was with me. The whole thing was fantastic. But I go down and think about yourself in a hunt in this situation, right? So I went down. I practiced with Willie for like the last 10 days in a row, really trying to prepare him for this, really trying to prepare me. I feel like we're going in this really dialed in. And rodeo just kicks off. Wicked storm, like torrential downpour storm. hits. I'm hiding in the trailer. I've got Willie completely tacked up. I got him in the trailer. We're trying to keep everything dry. It was like an hour long goes by with this storm. Okay, but then it clears and, we start everything back up again. So I had not practiced in like a super muddy arena for a lot of reasons. One, I don't want to go get slopping, wet with mud. Two, safety for Willie and myself. There's a lot there, but we didn't practice it. So I am riding to the arena, and I've got a lot of things in my head, right? Like what I'm going to do. I'm playing, back like my last run. What am I going to do different? I got my things. I like 3 things, right? So for me, it was keep my shoulder back, keep my tip down, and pull my slack. Those were like the 3 things that were in my head. If I can do these 3 things, I got it. So we're on the way to the arena, and we get to a very large puddle. Okay. Willie jumps all 4 feet off the ground, straight up in the air and straight down to get over this puddle. I've never in my life seen him do that. Now, we've walked through puddles, right? We've done a lot around puddles. He's never had an issue. For some reason today, he had a major issue with that. He put that horn right in my gut. I mean, I went into that arena in legitimate pain. I mean, it hurt so bad. And now I'm worried because now I'm like, there's puddles all over this arena. Is he going to do something stupid in here, right? So, translation, you can see where I'm going with this, right? Like the dog stuff, okay, in the moment, on the hunt. Like, is there something that they do that is unexplainable, right? And how do you combat it? Okay, so I went in there probably overthinking it way too much, right? Because like, am I going to be okay? Is he going to do this? Is this going to be, like, I'm worried about this, right? So he actually comes out when that calf goes, I nod, they let the calf go. I start chasing, and as we get out of the box, he kind of like jump steps to the left a little bit to avoid a puddle. And like that took my left foot out of my stirrup, which meant I couldn't ride like I needed to. I didn't have any power on my swing, didn't have anything, right? So I'm actually going to play, I know you can't see it, but I'm actually going to play the audio for you of this run here. So there you go. You're going to hear the crowd. Hear the, oh, that was everybody watching me miss. And I know from the get-go, there was something different about me, right? So I was overthinking it. I was tense. I was breathing heavier. I was different. Now, I know Willie did something that I wasn't expecting, but I also know, looking back on that I was not the same either, which he had to have been feeling that, okay? So what I did the whole next day is we walked in and out of puddles. Like we did. We walked in and out of puddles, like every opportunity that I had. We walked in the mud. We did stuff that whole next day just to try to prepare him, right? That was the only thing I could feel was different. But then when I started looking at myself, like I started watching and rewatching that video, I could just tell that I was different. I was more tense. I was really very different with my body language, which again, I'm sure he felt. So I started focusing on me. Okay, what could I do different? Okay, maybe I don't have to be as tense. Maybe I can be looser. I can have fun with this, right? Like when we're having practice, like we're having fun, right? Like maybe I can have more fun with it. So we go to the next rodeo, the next night. We get, 45 minutes into it. What happens? Torrential downpour for this second night in a row. And the difference was that now I'm prepared for it, right? So what did we do? We embraced it. I smiled. I was like, hey, this makes it more fun. I get to get muddy today, right? We go out. I'm walking literally to the event. We walk intentionally in every puddle that we possibly can. Every time I'm praising him, petting him on the head. Good boy, buddy. Good boy. Like just, super excited, super happy. And we went into the arena in a much different mood, in a much different environment. I should say same elements, right? But I was different. And because I was different, that horse was different. Okay. And I controlled what I could control, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play for you guys the next run, which I know you guys can't see it, but I think you guys will appreciate some of this stuff here. So so here we go here. So this is Walk On, Iowa. So first off, I know you can't see it, but I'm vibing. I'm like dancing, like kind of like shimmying on the horse a little bit, like heads bouncing up and down. I am loving this moment. And there's something about the announcer saying my name in that moment. Maybe I was just more present, but it was like it put me in the zone. And anyway, I'll let it keep going here. All right, so when he said 20 and change is what we're running at, that was the time to beat at that point. And when I walked into the box, one of my friends that was down there, he's like, hey, just let this calf get out. Everybody's breaking out, which means crossing the barrier before the calf crosses their barrier. You have to give them a proper head start. So you're disqualified. Or covering them up, which means they come out and they're right on top of them, and that's a very, very difficult shot to take when you're looking straight down because your horse is basically right on their butt, right? So I'm going to fast forward here. So here we go. So a couple things here. So first off, I'm just gonna break the rundown here for a little bit. So when he goes, when the announcer does this right here, when I hear, oh, we're going fast, like in my head, like I'm smiling because I'm like, I know I'm going fast. So I get to him, get a good flank, and when I go to my tie was it was solid mud. And so I took my time because I knew that I had a big lead at that point. I was just going to take my time, make sure I had a good tie. Everything was good. And it was a great run. So that put me in first place. I did not finish in first place because the slack after the rodeo had some faster runs after the arena dried out a little bit. But elements, pouring rain, mud, the same thing that I had before. But I was able to make an adjustment, apply it on the next day, and then I myself, I believe a lot because of the adjustments made, I handled myself differently as a handler. Okay. And where I think this applies so much is the live hunt aspect of it. Okay. So we've all been working all summer long on preparing our dogs, getting them tuned up, getting them in the right position, whether it's running blinds, being steady, honoring, hunt set, whatever you want to talk about. Right. But it is likely not going to go that smooth on the first day of the hunt. Right. Because now you go from a controlled environment, in my case, the groomed arena that I always run in, to now an uncontrolled environment. The rain, the mud, everything else that went into it, right? Same thing here, right? You are going to have maybe not the weather elements, excuse me, but there's going to be some different elements that you're going to run in. So instead of getting frustrated and upset about it, taking a step back and saying, okay, let's maybe change my approach. Let's have some situational awareness. This did not go well. A lot of times what we hear all the time is like they didn't handle geese well, right? Like the dog didn't want to pick up a big honker. Okay, well, let's go practice that. Okay, I have a client of mine. His name is Lance. Lance is a fantastic human being. I love Lance to death. But he has a little female, I believe, little strike puppy from Riverstone. And this little dog, her name is Lou. Lou is a little pocket rock. I mean, she is a dynamite dog, big motor, small stature, everything's great. She failed her first hunt test the other day. And when he told me she failed, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I've seen this dog run. She's fantastic. Well, he's done all the training himself, which I think is fantastic. But he said she's never seen a duck before. So she ran right to it, looked at it, looked around, and kept hunting. And I was like, oh, yeah, she's probably looking for a bumper, right? She's looking at this, not knowing this is what it is she's supposed to be picking up. So what did we do? Same exact thing in a different way that I did with Willie. So we took a duck from the test. He did a little training session with her that night. He did another one the next morning. Guess what? She looked like the dog of the day the next day because she was on fire. Boom, boom, right there, right back to hand, everything perfect with the duck. Even though she had looked that poorly the day before because of the situation that she wasn't prepared for. So much of this that is going to change on a regular basis. Just when you think you have it figured out, there's going to be a curveball. There's going to be something that comes up. But I think the difference in success and failure here is, quite frankly, that the failure part of it, I'm just going to prep you guys for right now. The failure part of it is inevitable. You are going to fail. Somewhere along the line, there will be a failure. But the difference between winners and losers is how they respond to that failure. Failure comes with this completely negative connotation, right? Like failure is like the end all be all, you failed. It's not that. But it can be a fantastic learning tool to then go apply and be successful moving forward. Don't be afraid to fail. Put yourself in these environments. Put yourself in these situations. I want to tell you that 14.9 seconds. You know how many hours and hours and hours went into that 14 seconds? I mean, that right there was a literal dream come true for me. And there was so much that went into it. But there were failures ahead of that in rodeos, right? Couldn't get my first one tied in time. The second one I missed, right? But I learned from both of those situations, and then I went and I made that dream a reality. So now I'm going to take that success, and I'm going to continue to build off of it. I'm going to continue to learn. I'm going to continue to get better, to get faster, to get stronger, to get everything that I'm wanting to do here. I just think this is such a great story in relation to what you're doing with your dog right now. Embrace it. It's not going to be smooth. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be perfect, and that's fine. To be quite honest, that 14.9 seconds, when I got up, I wish you could see it. Like I'm jacked up. I'm pumping. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm clapping. I'm yelling, good boy, Willie, good boy, Willie. I'm just super excited. But then it hit me of what all went into it. Those failures made that moment that much sweeter. Just like when you have that moment, that breakthrough on the hunt, when everything clicks and everything comes together, like, oh my gosh, like this dog is just firing on all cylinders. The failures and the adversity that you went through, I promise, will make that better. Don't shy away from it. If your dog struggles, don't shut it down. Embrace it. Figure out a way to get over it and go be successful. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Please come see me if you're at Delta. Come see me if you're at Game Fair. I will be doing podcasts here in between, but just kind of getting that stuff on the radar for you guys. So hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Go have failure with your dog this weekend. Go push them. Go do something that you haven't done yet. Go fail. And then figure out how to make that failure a success. Good grief. Go find a way to make that failure a success. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes. And a special thank you to DUK, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.